Share. Oh. A note over here. Wonderful. Sai Boker Tov. Wonderful. Boker Tov to you. All right, here we have a sikh of the Rebbe, and it talks about the nusach of the prayers on Al Hanisim. We say this prayer Al Hanisim, and we say it in the excuse me. It's added into our prayers in the every time we say Shmon Esrei, we add on Hanisim. Well, add Al Hanisim. The Shmon Esrei, and every time we say Birkat Hamazon, we add Al Hanisim. Usually, most people say that the the miracle. There were two miracles that happened on on Chanuka. One was that they won the battle. We won this amazing battle. Just a few Jews, according to Rashi, it says it was 13 Jews. They fought against tens of thousands of Greeks, and we defeated them. And then after that, we went into the temple, and they purified the temple, and they lit the candles, and there was only enough pure oil for one day, but it lasted for 8 days, and that was a big miracle. So there was two miracles. One was the victory, and the other one was the candles. According to most opinions, the miracle of the candles we commemorate by lighting the candles. According to the miracle of the war, the victory of the war, we commemorate with this Al Hanisim prayer that we say, that we add in. Okay, the Rebbe points out, interestingly, that somebody missed it. The Rebbe points out, interestingly, that the miracle of in the Gemara, and also there's a Rashi also, that they don't even mention that the miracle was because of the war. They just say that the miracle was only because the miracle was the lights. In order to get to the lights, they had to fight the war. Okay, let's go. But now we have a big question. What's the question? The question is, if the miracle was really said, the Al Hanisim was because of the victory of the war, so the language is a little bit not clear. So let's have a look and see. Bit tefillah in the prayer that says Al Hanisim that we say in the days of Chanuka. Let's see if I can make this bigger. I don't know. It usually doesn't work. See, no, it goes over to the side. Okay. One second. No, it doesn't work. Okay. In the prayer that we say, Al Hanisim, that we say in the days of Hanukkah, it says, God, you gave the powerful into the hands of the weak. We're the weak ones. And God gave the Greeks who were powerful, they put the Greeks into our hands. The powerful, you put in the hands of the weak. The many, you put in the hands of the few. The impure, you put in the hands of the pure. The evil ones, you put in the hands of the righteous. The purposeful sinners, you put in the hands of those who learn your Torah. It seems that what it's talking about, these are 5 different descriptions of the evil Greeks, right? The Greeks, it says they were powerful, they were many, they were impure, they were evil, and they were purposeful sinners. That's the Greeks. And he put them into the hands of the Jews. Kavar Tamu, Mefarsheh of Tefillos, those who comment on the prayers, a lot of them ask that the 3 types we said, the last types, Tameim, Biad Rishayim, Timeim and Rishayim and Zaydim, that which we call the Greeks, impure and evil, Rishayim, wicked transgressors, and Zaydim, purposeful sinners. L'chora, this doesn't Ein zeh mipulat hanes. This has nothing to do with praising, with the miracle that happened. What happened? The miracle was that a small number, weak number, they beat the big ones, the powerful ones. That was a miracle. What's a big miracle if the good guys beat the bad guys, right? Or if the the righteous people beat the evil people, or the impure people are defeated by the pure people. That's not a miracle. What if the evil people always usually win, and it has to be a miracle for the righteous people to beat them? It doesn't make any sense. This has nothing to do with a miracle. The Tuma Tahor of a Rishayim, Tzaddikim, these people that they can be pure, impure, righteous, bad, evil, that has nothing to do with a war. The big miracle was the first two things, that the weak people defeated the power people, the powerful ones, and the few defeated the many. But the rest of them was no miracle. That a righteous person defeats an evil person, that's such a big miracle. Why is that a miracle? It could be we were stronger. It could be we were better. We had better weapons. Who knows? Yeshitirtu, some people say, Alpi Mamar Chazal, Man Hulin Rabbanan, who are sick, the rabbis. The rabbis are already sick. Even when they're healthy, they're always teshushei koach, they're always a little bit weak because the Torah weakens people. So therefore they say that no matter how many rabbis you have, how many righteous people you have, right, and how many, they're always going to be weaker. Nimsa, so it comes out that this is also gevurim v'chalashim v'gavru mekoach haneis hachalashim al giburim. Even if you have 1,000 Jews, religious Jews, against 10 non-Jews, the non-Jews have an advantage. Why? Because the Jews learn Torah, and the Torah weakens you. That's what some people say. So there is just a little bit of an explanation on the first two. The first two is really the big miracle, that the God put the powerful ones in the hands of the weak ones. Who are the weak ones? The weak ones are the Jews, even if they are righteous and pure. And says the Rebbe, this doesn't really have anything to do with the miracle. What do we care if the reason that they were weak and that they were strong, what does the difference does it make? Why? I mean, the big miracle was, okay, so you have 1,000 Jews and they're all weak. So it still is a miracle if they beat 10 Gentiles who are strong. It still is a miracle. The main miracle is that the weak defeated the great, the powerful. Harigam beguf inyan. The fish pshuto is kasha laforish came. But it's very difficult to give this answer. The Jews are always weak because they learn the Torah. The only Jews that are really weakened by the Torah are those Jews that they learn Torah all the time. They don't do anything else except learn the Torah. Those people, it's true. Those people who really sit and they learn the Torah all the time, they don't go out and they do anything else. I mean, they go, they do good deeds once in a while, but the main thing is that those people, generally speaking, are not strong people, right? They get a flat tire on the road. They don't know how to change it. They can't, even if they know they can't do it. They haven't got the power. Okay, but that's rare. Not only that, it doesn't explain the reason why it says impure in the hands of the pure, evil in the hands of the righteous. This doesn't in any way stress the fact that they're learning Torah. So this whole answer that Jews that learn Torah are always weak, no matter how, and that was the miracle, that weak Jews it's very, very difficult to say that, and especially according to what the rabbis say, if it wasn't for David, that he learned Torah as Eov, they say Yoav, Milchama. It says that if David wouldn't have learned the Torah, then his chief of staff in the war wouldn't have won any wars. That David, because he learned the Torah, as he gave power to Yoav, that he could win the wars. So from this is understood that in the time of war, those who learn the Torah, they have an obligation to learn more Torah in order that the armies should win. Exactly the opposite. The victory of the war depends on the pupils of the Torah, learning the Torah. You have to have fight warriors, of course, but it's like you have a tank and you don't have any gasoline in it. You have to the power behind the warriors is learning the Torah. So if so, we see that learning the Torah is not so much makes you weak. So this whole answer about all this is talking about Jews fighting against the Greeks, and that the Jews, no matter what, they're always weak because they learn Torah. It doesn't really work out so well because, first of all, number one, it's only talking about who becomes weak when they learn the Torah. Only those who learn the Torah all the time. They don't do anything else. And number two, we see that learning the Torah gives power to the soldiers to win. If so, we have to say that this is what it means, Zaydim biados ke Toratecha, that it means that all the people in the world were all rabbis, and all of them sat and learned Torah all the time. So that's sort of a little bit hard to say. Yoter nearly, it seems to me like this. That what it says, Oske Toratecha, this is talking about not just those people who learn Torah all the time, but it's talking about all the Jews. Any Jew who learns the Torah is in this category of the victors. They were victorious over the people that purposely did not. Shekulam, all the Jews are called Oske Toratecha. That's what the Jews are called. Like it's said that every single Jew is obligated to make all the blessings of the Torah, La'osik b'Torah. If so, to say that this means only those people that were weakened by learning Torah all the time, and that was the big miracle that they went, doesn't seem to fit out too well, because all the Jews are called learning Torah, even those that learn Torah occasionally, and they certainly aren't weak because of it. Also, Yeshlomo, we can say that this language of Oske Toratecha, not Lomdi Toratecha, and it says that Zaydim biat Oske Toratecha, it says. This bow, not just is that they're working at learning the Torah, but this includes also people that osik, even in the commandments. Shehu tachlit alima, the purpose of learning Torah is to do the commandments. So it says oske Torah means that they put what they learned in the Torah to use. Osik means to do. The purpose of learning Torah is to actually do. These are people that call it oske Torah. So they're involved in something physical. So therefore, what? These people that learn Torah, this is relevant to understanding of a person, which is not the case of a person that osik b'Torah. If he's osik b'Torah, it can also indicate that the person uses his powers in the things that the Torah tells him to. Hainu ke shalomid, when he learns the Torah, he learns it in order to do, so that everything, all of his limbs are according to the Torah. If so, it's becoming a little bit hard to explain that those three things that we say in the those last three things that we say in the blessing Ala Nisim are talking about Jews against the Greeks. It's a little bit hard to explain it. What does it mean that the impure in the hands of the put the impure in the hands of the pure, and the the evil people in the hands of the righteous, and the purposeful sinners in the hands of those who learn the Torah? It doesn't seem to make sense that those three are talking about Jews, about Jews against the Greeks. Also, we can according to this, it's also the question of the Meforshim. Why does it say Zaydim in the hands of the people who learn Torah? Why doesn't it say the opposite? It should have said two things that are opposite: purposeful sinners against those who learn Torah. It should say, like it said before, the weak defeated the powerful. The few defeated the many. Those are two opposites. But a person who is learning Torah, they do the commandments. That's not the opposite of purposeful sinners. right? Purposeful sinners. What the Greeks are? Almost the Greeks are purposeful sinners. What does it mean? So the question comes back: What's so big about the miracle that God put the impure in the hands of the pure, the evil in the hands of the righteous, the purposeful sinners in the hands of those who do Torah? What's the miracle? Says the Rebbe. I'll tell you what's going on here. Listen to this. Or at first glance, we can say that what it says, the impure in the hands of the pure, this refers to what it says before that when the evil Greek rulers stood all your Jewish people to make them forget the Torah and to transgress the commandments. Namely, it wasn't just a normal war. The war was that the evil Greeks, they didn't want to just conquer the Jewish people and take their land. They wanted the Jewish people to forget the Torah and the commandments. It was a spiritual war. The Greeks did not destroy the temple like the Romans did later on. They just defiled. The purpose of the Greeks was to make the Jews act like Greeks. Intellectual, cultured, fun-loving. And that was it. Not that it's bad to be intellectual and it's not bad to be cultured. It's not bad to have fun. But they wanted everybody that you decide whatever you think is fun, whatever you think is culture, whatever you think is intellect, that's what you do. The Torah does not decide. You like the Torah, do the Torah, but you're the decider. You do the Torah because you like it. Shatir nitzchonam, that the Greeks wanted to defeat the Jews, and the victory, and the fact that the Jews defeated the Greeks afterwards, tzorech lichlol, also has to include not only the physical victory that they made, namely that the few defeated the many and the weak defeated the strong, but also has to include the spiritual victory. Hitnagdut al gezerot ubitul, namely their gabrut, I'm sure that the Jews overpowered these spiritual decrees that the Greeks made. Therefore, it says Tameim biad tahorim. Therefore, it says the impure were put in the hands of the pure. The impure are the Greeks, and the pure are the Jews. The evil are the Greeks. God put them in the hands of the righteous. That's the Jews. The purposeful sinners, that's the Greeks. God put them in the hands of. This is the spiritual victory, right? This stresses the spiritual victory. Oh, that explains it, right? Wrong. Aval lichiora, says the Rebbe, dochek lefarish shepratim. It's very difficult to explain that these details, elu, that it says in alanisim. Why put this in alanisim? Enu b'chlal alanisim v'niflot. This is no big miracle. Just because the pure defeated the impure, that was such a big miracle. That's not a miracle. It's a nice thing, right? But it's not nothing like the big victory. That's not a miracle. Alanisim, this is a miracle. What's the miracle? The miracle is that the good guys defeated the bad guys. That's not a miracle. The miracle is that even though we were weak and we were small, then we defeated it. But the fact that a pure person defeats an impure person, where's the miracle in that? Yesh Lomer, we can say maybe like this. It's known the word, the days of the history back then, that the decrees were against the religion of the Jews to make them forget the Torah and the commandments. This was by means of Malchus Yavan Harasha'ah. The Malchus Yavan was called evil. That they made these decrees on the Jews. They were the ones who negated the religion of the Jews. They were the ones who didn't let them do Torah and the commandments. But says the Rebbe, Mikol Makom, nevertheless, Hayukama v'kama, there were a lot of the Jews, Hamit Yavnim, the Jews that decided to become secularized, Greekized. Shenitztarfu li'avanim. There were a lot of Jews that agreed with the Greeks. Nosef alelu she'asu kein mipnei ha'ones. In addition to those that did so because they were afraid. Va'ad shemiut b'nei Israel nisharu shlemim begilui Hashem b'torato. There were only a very small number of Jews that remained faithful to God in a revealed way. Could be there were Jews that in their houses they did the commandments, but the Greeks ruled over the whole world. And first of all, people were afraid of them. They had the weapons, and not only that, they didn't really use these weapons so much. The Greeks were very friendly people. The Greeks appreciated to have Jews as friends. Why not have a good time? Maybe we can say that the kavana b'shloshet inyanim. Maybe we could say that the intention in these things of tameim, the impure, were put in the hands of the pure. The evil people were put in the hands of the righteous. The purposeful sinners were put in the hands of those who did the Torah. This is talking about the Jews. The Jews that had decided, that joined with the Greeks, heart and soul. Hainu shenosef ala nes, that in addition to the miracle that the B'nai Hashmoneh, that the people of the Hashmonim, they overpowered the Greeks, but often in a way that there were many in the hands, God put the many in the hands of the weak. The powerful in the hands of the weak, and the many in the hands of the few. But even there's another miracle that happened, that God also put into their hands also the Tameim and the Rishoyim and the Zaydim. What are these Tameim? The Jews. There were Jews. Well, the Rebbe is going to explain now that by a non-Jew, it's really not relevant, these three terms, Tameim, Rishoyim, Zaydim. That 90% of the Jews, maybe more, agreed with the Greeks. And logically so. I mean, you had to be superhuman not to agree with the Greeks, right? And for what reason would you not agree with the Greeks? Why? Why? The Greeks ruled the whole world. The Greeks were nice people. The Greeks were friendly. The Greeks were accepting everybody. The Greeks were agreeing to intermarry, right? The Greeks weren't trying to kill people. That wasn't their goal. The Greeks wanted to, I think simply, if you look at history, the Greeks they did practically conquer the whole world. How many Greeks are there? They didn't have enough people to rule over the whole world by force. They thought they would rule over the whole world by, free will, culture. They would add Greek culture. Everyone would agree that if you want to benefit from the world, you join on to the Greeks. That's what and for a brief time, they ruled over the whole world with this new cultural ideas that they spread all over the place. And the Jews were really, they really enjoyed it. They grabbed onto it to this very day. So we have the majority of the Jews grabbed on. We see that the Rashi explains that there were only 13 Maccabees, 13 Hashmonaim that fought against all these Greeks. So they fought against not only the Greeks, they fought against the Jews also. This is even greater a miracle. Namely what? From the two things. Number one, the victory of the war, simply. The Greeks could increase their numbers by arming also Jews that wanted to become Greeks. And also the great miracle that the Jewish people were they were on the side of the Greeks. They gave them moral support. Nevertheless, the Nitzchu, Hatahorim, Tzadikim, V'oskei Toratecha, nevertheless, the pure ones, the righteous ones, those who learned the Torah, they won. That was whether we're talking about the physical war or the spiritual war. That God made the Jewish people this miracle. That's the whole thing of the Al Nisim, is what? A victory that was a miracle. What was the big miracle? The miracle was the Jews didn't deserve it. The Jews had all left God. They didn't care anything about Hashem. They wanted to be with the Greeks. You, with your great mercy, you stood at the difficult times. You did their judgment. You took their vengeance, and you put the weak into you gave the many in the hands of the few, and the strong in the hands of the weak. Even though that most of the Jewish people were not fitting for this miracle, nevertheless, God considered to only looked at the few, the pure, the tahorim, the righteous, and he made this miracle. Oh, that's a pretty big miracle. According to this, that God put the impure and the evil and the purposeful sinners. This refers to the Jews that had become like Greeks, Hellenized Greeks, Hellenized Jews. I'm sorry, Hellenized. Yesh Leva'er, we can explain also Gam Kein Hada Nakat Gimel Torim, why it says these three, why it says that these are two opposites. If we're talking about Jews, now it makes sense. First of all, let's take the first ones. Impure in the hands of the pure, evil in the hands of the righteous, purposeful sinners in the hands of those who learn Torah. The fact that these are three diametric opposites, this is relevant only to the Jewish people. In other words, because the Jewish people, because in the relation of the Jewish people among the other nations, it's not so proper to call the Jews, the nations, the non-Jews impure or evil or purposeful sinners. These are not really proper terms that you could put on the Greeks or on the non-Jews in general. Benigud, if you're going to make it, you want to try to compare them to the Jewish people and call the Jewish people pure and righteous and doing the Torah. Why? If you want to say this is comparing one type of a Jew to another type of a Jew, then these are proper terms. These are opposing terms. But if you want to compare the Jews to the non-Jews, these are not really proper terms to describe the non-Jews. Like Yeger Tahora, because this whole terminology of Tahora, a definition, Tahora, and to be pure, righteous, doing the Torah by the Jews, this is a totally different thing than by Mikafi She'em Eitzel B'nai Noach, by the non-Jews. Ein ze begidrum kalal, like we're going to see. It's not relevant that if you call a Jew righteous, that you call a non-Jew evil. It's not relevant to say that if you want to bring two opposites in the Jews, those people that are opposing the Jews in these ways, that they're called tameim, they're called impure and evil, and let's see. The explanation is like this. This whole, the categories of pure, impure, and pure, according to halacha, this is only by Jews. A non-Jew cannot become impure. If a non-Jew goes touches a dead body, he doesn't become impure. He goes into a tent, doesn't become impure. In the language of the Rambam, akum, and a non-Jew that touches a dead person, harihu kamoshalo, it's as though he never touched them. Ha lama zedoma, what is this similar? Like an animal that touches a dead body, also the animal does not become impure. Not only an impurity of death, but also any impurities. Non-Jews cannot contract any sort of impurities. The Rambam means to say that an animal, that a non-Jew is not relevant, this whole category of becoming impure. So we can't say that this means that in fact, it just means that in fact he doesn't become impure. It means that the whole category of impurity is not relevant to a non-Jew. Can't. Also the same thing. So therefore, this thing of the God put the impure into the hands of the pure, you can't say the impure refers to non-Jews, because non-Jews is really, the term impure is not really relevant if you're comparing it to Jews. Another thing, tzaddikim, that God put the evil people in the hands of the tzaddikim. This refers to the Jewish people. This is when the Jews do the 613 commandments, then they're called tzaddikim, which is not the case by the non-Jews. The non-Jews, they can be tzaddikim, and it doesn't have anything to do with 613 commandments. If they just do their 7 commandments of theirs. The difference between the 613 commandments of the Jews and the 7 commandments of the non-Jews, it's not just in the number of commandments. The commandments of the non-Jews are totally different. A non-Jew that does any one of his commandments, some people say that there are 30 positive, the 7 Noahide commandments are only negative ones, the prohibitions, except for the courts of justice, which are only there to make sure that they do the other 6. But they say that there's 30, and there's a Gemara in Chulin, there's 30 positive commandments of the non-Jews, but they don't make a blessing on this. The commandments that the non-Jews have, it's a totally different type of a command. It's a totally different type of a commandment. It's there to make the world orderly, to put order in the world, not to put holiness in the world like the Jewish commandments. Therefore, we find that the main thing of the reward and punishment is only by the Jews if they do the commandment. The main thing of reward, like it says, "Rak etchem yadati mikol mishpachot adama al ken avkod aleichem et kol avonotechem." Until it says that if a non-Jew doesn't do the 7 Noahide commandments, he's not punished. It says he doesn't get if he does the 7 Noahide commandments, he gets a special reward. He's in a different, but he doesn't get punished if he doesn't do them. A non-Jew is not punished for doing for avoiding his commandments. A Jew, yes. So therefore, a Jew can be called a rasha. Like it says, Ani akum delo mafkid dina aleim. It says, I will not visit the sins of the non-Jews on them. As a people, maybe individuals. I don't know how God does it. But in any case, non-Jew that does not do his 7 Noahide commandments is not punished from heaven. And a Jew, yes, he is. He makes God mad. The deeds of the non-Jews are not so important that they could be called Rishayim. Also, the third one, Zaydim in the Yad of Toratecha. So therefore, the term Rashayim and Tzaddikim is only relevant from one Jew to another. It's not a way to compare a non-Jew to a Jew. The same thing is Zaydim, purposeful sinners in the hands of those who learn Torah. This term, learning Torah, working at Torah, this is only by the Jews. A non-Jew doesn't have to learn Torah. A non-Jew is not supposed to learn Torah. It says a non-Jew that learns Torah that's not relevant to him, his 7 Noahide commandments, it says that the punishment is death. Even though it says the non-Jews have to learn the laws of the 7 Noahide commandments that are relevant to them, but nevertheless it's not called osik b'Torah. They're not doing a mitzvah. They're just knowing the laws, what they have to do. A non-Jew has no commandment to learn the Torah. So therefore, when we compare, you can't compare a Jew by saying a Jew, he learns the Torah and the non-Jews don't learn. From here, it says the Rebbe, we have a big, let's see where this ends. Yeah, okay, we can finish it. We have 2 minutes. From here, we have a big encouragement and a tremendous empowering to the Jews in our generation. That not only the fact that the Jews are the least of all of the nations, also the Jewish people themselves, those who do the Torah and the commandments the way they're supposed to, at least presently, Mashiach will change that, but only the minority of the Jews do Torah and mitzvahs, are interested in it. If a person thinks about this, so this can bring a person to, depression. What's going to be? Right? Our Jews are so few. How's going to have mercy on us? Or at least it can weaken a person. How can it possibly be that the God is going to send Mashiach when so few Jews are doing the Torah? This, we have the learning of what we said before, in a kol shechen v'kol v'chomer, in the days of Chanuka. That just like in the days of Chanuka then, the Jews that were impure, that were Rashayim, and they were purposeful sinners, that was the majority of the Jews. Nevertheless, the pure ones and the righteous ones and those who learned the Torah, they won. Similarly, in our generation, if there are just a few, if there are many, many Jews that don't do Torah and mitzvahs in a complete way now, we can say, listen, these Jews are what's called children. They were never educated properly. They themselves are taharim and tzaddikim me'otei toratecha. I'm sorry. These people that don't do the Torah and mitzvahs, we could say they're not really doing it to be evil. They're doing it because they don't know any better. And those people who are pure and righteous and they learn the Torah, they do with self-sacrifice to do the Torah and mitzvahs. So therefore, Hashem will help them and give them the victory, just like it was back then, even more. That God will give the power to the few to overpower those people who are not pure and to make them pure. This, whether we are even in Echus, the pure ones, they become the main ones because they have the power of holiness, which the holiness of Hashem, but the power of those people who are weak and what you call they don't do the Torah and the purposeful sins, they only have physical power alone. Therefore, what can we say? A Jew nowadays that does the Torah, he has the power to be victorious. Lochen, sof, after everything, the Jewish people that do the Torah and those that keep the commandments, they will be victorious. Often shall masarta, that God will give our enemies and those who oppose us into our hands. Not only will we be victorious, but even more, we, the side of holiness, that's the side that will transform everything to good. Everything will be under the rulership of holiness until everything will be transformed to good. That's like a little bit of light transforms darkness. That's the lights of Chanuka. And it's an interesting thing that the lights of Hanukkah, we see even the most non-religious Jews, even anti-religious Jews, they light the lights of Hanukkah. Just like it is relevant to all the Jews, all of this, so it is relevant to each and every individual. The rabbis say a lot of people tried to do like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, namely sitting and learning Torah all the time and not doing anything else, v'lo alta biyadam, and it didn't succeed. The Rov B'nai Yisrael, that the majority of the Jewish people, 99% of the Jews, they cannot sit and learn Torah all the time, but they work in business. The majority of the day, they have to do their physical things. The minimum of the day, they only can occupy them, give themselves over for holy things, prayer, learning Torah a little bit, doing the commandments. And even those people who do the deeds of the day, they do it for the sake of heaven. Like it says, B'chol derechecha do'ehu. This is called, they do the things in the day, they do it for the sake of heaven, right? The sake of heaven. So we see that what? Maybe we can say, maybe a person will say to himself that machshava mara shechora, maybe a person will fall into his mind a bitter and a dark thought. Namely, how could it possibly be that we can say that we can make a holy temple? Everyone has to make themselves a holy temple into a holy temple, and God will dwell within me, inside of each and every Jew. That holiness will be inside of the Jewish people. How can it be that I'm going to be a holy person when the majority of my life, right, 80% of the day, I'm working in my business and I have to be with my family and I have all these different problems, and only a very small amount of the day can I devote to learning Torah as it should properly? And this comes in the days of Chanuka. That if a person thinks in himself that he's very small, that he is only a little bit of him, a little bit is involved in pureness, purity, and tzedakah, being righteous, and learning Torah. So just how God saved all the Jews back then, even though a small percentage of them were pure and righteous and learning Torah, the same thing, me, my personal life, only a small percentage of it I give over to learning Torah. If so, You might think, okay, maybe that's in time, in quantity of a be'echlus, but in quality, the main of those times that I put into prayer, into Torah, into doing the commandments, those are the ones that win the war. That is what determines my day. So we see that the quality defeats quantity every time. That's the point the Rebbe wants to say. That's the message of Chanuka. Also, it's even more. By means of recognizing this, a person will automatically, he'll have a different view of his own life. He'll have a different mood when he knows that even a little bit of holiness that he does in the daytime, this is what conquers the whole rest of the day. So then he'll know that the rest of the day, God will put into his hands the impure into the hands of the pure and the evil in the hands, etc. That even in the time when he does work in his job and does physical things the whole rest of the day, nevertheless, this will be secondary and subservient and in the hands of the times that you do serve Hashem. From here, we can learn also a big encouragement to those people that do tshuva. Even though just a few days before they were impure and they were Rishoyim and they were purposeful sinners and their Yetzer Hora overpowered them, then they feel themselves to be weak and very few. So you can come up to a person, he's sitting in a bar, who knows where, and say, "Are you Jewish?" "Yes." "Come, put on tefillin." He says, "Listen, you know how many sins I've done? I'm already 70 years old. My whole life has just been sinning. Leave me alone. Just how many days have I got left? I'll just have a good time. Why should I fight these battles? I know you're right to do mitzvahs, but I can't do it. It's impossible." He says, "You should know that if you start to do even one commandment, that one commandment makes you pure, makes you righteous, makes you a person who learns the Torah. And even though that's the smallest amount of your life, but you should know, just like the smallest amount of Jews back then defeated an enemy that was 99% greater than them, 99,000 times greater than themselves, nevertheless they won. Because the main thing is the quality. And that overcomes all of the past. A person did 70 years of sins. He does 1 minute of good things. That overcomes all the past. And each and every person will be built the holy temple, the individual temple, and it will purify himself. He'll purify himself. What is this? In his individual holy temple, and he will make himself pure in the good things that he does. Then he will remove all the bad from his temple, like it says they did back then. And afterward, they will light the lights of his soul. And this lights will be not only in the soul, but also in the outside, the chatzos ketzecha, until hodot al halal l'shem ha'gadol, the whole world will praise only Hashem. And that's the idea of the coming of the Mashiach. Now, mamash, Yachi Amelach. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll have a good Shabbos and light the Chanuka candles before the candles of Shabbos. And we'll meet together, God willing, on Sunday, 8:15. Shabbat Shalom. Chanuka Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom, Eli. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you, Herschel. I'm glad. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Shalom.
Thank you. Shalom.